The Dead Don't Hurt is out in theaters, new western written and directed by Viggo Mortensen, who also stars in it alongside the wonderful Vicky Krieps. Apparently he was not supposed to act in it in the film, but the original actor dropped out late in pre-production, and Vicky Krieps talked Mortensen into starring with her. So the story in the film starts with Krieps' character Vivienne dying in her bed. From there, the plot flips between going forwards from there and backwards into flashbacks. Forwards, we learn that she's survived by her partner, sheriff named Olson, and a small boy. And right after her death, a man in town is accused of committing multiple murders in a saloon. Although right away it is clear that he is being framed, that the real perpetrator is the son of the local businessman, and there is some sort of, sinister plot going on. And then in the past, we flash back to how Vivienne and Olson first met, how they fell in love, moved to the Wild West, and tried to build a life together. So it's a bit of an unusual film as far as westerns go, because especially with the opening scenes of the woman dying and the shootout at the saloon, it tricks you into thinking, oh, okay, this will be about the sheriff investigating the case and bringing the bad guys to justice. Where in reality, it's partly romance and partly a western told from the perspective of a woman, essentially a deconstruction of the genre. And to be clear, that doesn't mean it's a film about a woman riding a horse, shooting guns, and drinking whiskey. No, she's very firmly in the traditional female role at that time in the place. And that is kind of the point. The point of the film is that while the men are busy playing out their western fantasies, the women are left behind at home to take care of the daily life and deal with the real hardships. It's more obvious with the character of the villain. He couldn't be coded more clearly as the bad guy. He's constantly drunk, gambles, beats people up, dresses in all black. But the real interesting part to me is Olson, because in a regular western, he's the protagonist, whereas here he also fails Vivienne. He drags her out to this little cabin in the middle of nowhere. He can't take care of the garden himself. He can't really clean the house up, presumably can't cook. He's not very good at talking about feelings, but he does reveal that his previous wife left him when he went to war for 12 years. And then when the army recruiters from California come, he signs up for war again. He enlists and leaves again for multiple years. And there's a really poignant line when he eventually comes back, where Vivienne asks, "How was your war?" And he says, kind of sadly, "Not what I expected." I think it's an incredibly succinct summary of men who go out selfishly to play out their violent ambitions and fantasies, the real life, of course, never living up to them. They gain nothing in the end, but leave behind the family and the potential happiness that mattered most to them. Because, of course, when we see him building a life together with Vivienne, it's a perfect picture. It also, the fact that he leaves also mirrors his father, who, again, further back in the flashbacks, also left to wage war, left his wife and child behind. So Vivienne, meanwhile, is sort of left to live on her own, to deal with her problems, to raise a child, to find courage to face adversity and trauma and stand tall amidst all the injustice that happens to her, with no one to defend her, essentially. It's also perfectly summarized by the occasional dream sequences where she's seeing a knight in shining armor coming to save her when she's reverted back to the little girl, only to realize at the very end that the face behind the helmet is female, that the eyes are her eyes, that it's her. She's the only savior she could ever count on. I think there's a powerful, if understated, performance from Vicky Krieps in the middle of the film. She's also surrounded by a great supporting cast that is, in a lot of ways, seems like incredibly stereotypical Western cast of characters, even going as far as using 2 actors from Deadwood, all just to show how hollow and meaningless this typical Western male bullshit is to women. Cinematography is good, music is very good. I like the film. I have to say, I thought it was alright when I left the screening, but after letting it simmer and giving it some more thought and analysis, I appreciate it a lot more. I think it's an intelligent deconstruction of the Western genre through the female eyes, which crucially doesn't fall into the trap of mixing modern sensibilities when it comes to women's role in society with the period setting, and instead feels painfully real. Good stuff.